Hey guys, Mike again. Thanks for clicking into the video. Hope you're having a great day. Quick little Landcruiser tech video here. I'm swapping out my rear end out of my Landcruiser. So this stock HJ60 comes with a semi-float rear end, and I'm going ahead and put in a full floater. So take a look. So that is the old semi-float, and that is the new full floater ready to go in. So I'm working in my driveway here like I typically do. And here's just your generic semi-float rear end that comes in the 60 series, BJ60, HJ60, FJ60. And what kind of the weak point with these rear ends is it's a C-clip rear end, so the axle shaft comes along here, both of them, meets in the third member, and it's only retained with a little groove and a C-clip. So if the C-clip fails, comes loose, or wears down, or breaks off, or the axle shaft were to break, which can happen wheeling, there's nothing to retain this shaft or the wheel, and the wheel will just come off. And that happens, you're pretty much hooped, and you have to put a new shaft in, or get a new rear end, or find a new C-clip. So when you're wheeling, it's not really desirable to have a weaker axle shaft that may break. So you kind of have to take it easy and remember that you have to drive it home and not cane on it too much, because that is the inherent weak point of these rear ends. If you break a shaft, you're going to have to replace it. The other option for you to have a little bit more trail worthy is install a full float rear end like this one here. Now they're kind of tough to find. They're not really readily available, and they're pretty much we're in the premium Landcruiser. And if you do find one, you're going to pay premium, kind of like what I did here. And what makes these full floaters unique and why people like them for off-roading is that in the middle here, the axle shaft meet in the middle, and they just sit there and they float. There's no C-clip that retains these axles in the middle here. So there's nothing for that to fail. And how the axles are actually retained is this flange here. So it's nut and bolted together, and it's all held together. So even if you break an axle shaft, this whole assembly will not come off. So on the full floater, if you do go wheeling and you really wail on it and you happen to break a shaft, you can actually just remove that flange, pull the axle shaft out, and put the flange back on, and basically you'll have a one-wheel drive, but you'll be able to drive out, or you can carry spare axles, and they're a lot easier and smaller to carry in this form than a semi-float. So the other thing I should point out about these semi-floats, in order to get the axle shaft up, you have to actually remove this cover and pop the cover off, remove the C-clips, and then you can remove the axle shaft. But in the full floater, there's no cover. It's just a welded rear sections, therefore making it technically stronger and less prone to have any leak issues with the seal there. So just show you inside this semi-float here. So this is the carrier in here, and what you do is you loosen this bolt and it pulls out this pin. There's a block in here, and then the C-clip is just being retained right here, and you can kind of see it floating around. So once that block is out, you can pull the C-clips out, and then the axle shaft just comes out. Okay, so I got the pin out, and I got the center carrier stuff out, and the spider gears, and then here we go is the C-clip. So this is what retains this axle. So now the axle shaft will pull right out. There you go. And so if you're driving down the road and your C-clip breaks, your axle breaks, this axle shaft will come right out. So I pull the third member out, and here's another look at the C-clip, and it goes into these grooves right here, and it just slides in. And that's what retains the axle. Well, the rear end's all installed. It wasn't too difficult. I managed to install it with 2 floor jacks and a dolly. It's pretty much a direct bolt-in for the semi-float. The only issue you have to concern yourself about is making sure the gear ratio is the same for front and back. As I mentioned, the 60 series full floater is a little rare in North America, and they typically came in the HJ61, which originally was not imported into North America. You will find them in a JDM vehicle or Australia or other parts of the world. So if you do find one, you're going to be paying a premium for it. Well, I hope that enlightens you the difference between a full floater and a semi-float. And if you do find a vehicle with a full floater, well, that's a good thing. Once again, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.